The United States Constitution is the nation's rulebook, a living document that has shaped American life for over 2 centuries. It's more than just ink on parchment. It's the foundation of our democracy, outlining the structure of government and the freedoms we hold dear. By defining government powers and citizens' rights, the Constitution sets the boundaries for justice, liberty, and the rule of law. It's a document that every American, from students to lawmakers, relies on to understand their place in the nation's story. It's essential that this document remains accessible to all, not just as a symbol, but as a practical guide for daily life and civic engagement. In the digital age, access means more than visiting a library. It means being able to read the Constitution online, anytime, anywhere. The Library of Congress, as the nation's official record keeper, ensures this through its comprehensive website, making the Constitution and its annotations available to millions of Americans and researchers around the world. But on August 6, 2025, something unprecedented happened. Visitors to the library's Constitution annotated site were shocked to find critical sections missing, as if a piece of the nation's identity had suddenly been erased. This wasn't a minor glitch. Entire parts of Article 1 had vanished, leaving the document incomplete and raising immediate alarm among legal scholars, students, and everyday citizens alike. The disappearance lasted for hours, not minutes, sparking confusion and concern. People wondered how such a vital document could simply go dark in the digital age, and what it might mean for the country. Links that once led to explanations of congressional powers now returned page not found errors, ironically featuring George Washington, a founding father staring out from a void where the law should be. The missing text created a symbolic vacuum, raising questions about trust, transparency, and the fragility of our digital records. For many, it was a stark reminder of how quickly access to foundational knowledge can be disrupted. In a politically charged era, the sudden loss of constitutional text from an official source drew immediate scrutiny. News outlets, social media, and political commentators all demanded to know what had happened and why. Was this a technical accident, a cyber attack, or something more deliberate? Theories swirled as experts rushed to diagnose the problem and restore the missing content. The nation demanded answers. How could the Constitution just disappear, even temporarily? In a world where information is power, the brief vanishing of America's most important document left everyone asking, could it happen again? The missing sections weren't obscure. They were the very heart of Article 1, the part of the Constitution that lays out Congress's powers and the boundaries that keep those powers in check. These weren't just technicalities or footnotes. They were the blueprint for how American government was meant to function, the rules that shaped the balance between authority and liberty. Article 1, Section 8, which famously lists Congress's core authorities, like the power to tax, to declare war, to regulate commerce, was cut off mid-sentence. The text simply stopped, leaving a jarring gap where the nation's most essential legislative powers should have been spelled out. Even more alarming, Sections 9 and 10, which are supposed to restrict both federal and state powers, were completely gone. These sections are the Constitution's built-in brakes, the safeguards that prevent government from overstepping its bounds. These missing sections protect rights like habeas corpus, the right not to be imprisoned without cause, and ban ex post facto laws, which would allow people to be punished retroactively. They're not just legal jargon, they're fundamental safeguards for liberty, the promises that government can't simply ignore your rights. The Foreign Emoluments Clause, which prevents federal officials from accepting gifts or titles from foreign states, also vanished. This clause was designed to shield the government from foreign influence and corruption, ensuring that American leaders served only the people, not outside interests. With these omissions, the constitutional blueprint was left incomplete. It was as if someone had erased the lines that define and limit government, leaving behind a structure with no clear boundaries or protections. Without these crucial sections, the legal foundation for Congress's powers and for the protections guaranteed to every citizen was missing. The balance between government authority and individual rights was thrown into chaos. The abrupt loss was obvious to anyone reading the document. After the clause about post offices, the rest of Section 8 simply stopped, as if the story of American government had been left unfinished. The removal of Sections 9 and 10 erased crucial checks on government overreach, stripping away the very rules that were meant to keep power in balance and protect the people from abuse. For anyone seeking to understand American government that day, the Constitution was suddenly full of holes, its most vital protections and limitations missing, its meaning left uncertain, and its promise of liberty and order hanging by a thread. As news spread, the Library of Congress scrambled to explain. A website banner admitted to data issues, but details were scarce. Later, officials blamed a coding error during a routine update, insisting there was no malicious intent. By 2 p.m., the missing text was restored. While technical glitches happened, many questioned how such a critical error could occur without safeguards. Why wasn't the update tested first? How did no one notice until the public raised the alarm? The coding error explanation, though plausible, left lingering doubts about the institution's competence and oversight. Among the vanished protections was the writ of habeas corpus, a safeguard against unlawful imprisonment. This right ensures anyone detained can challenge their detention in court, a cornerstone of American justice. Its disappearance was especially alarming, as the Trump administration had recently discussed suspending habeas corpus to speed up deportations. Civil rights groups condemned the idea, calling it unconstitutional. The missing clause felt like more than coincidence. Also gone was the ban on ex post facto laws, which prevents retroactive punishment. These principles aren't abstract. They shield everyone from arbitrary government power. Their absence, even briefly, was a stark reminder of their importance. The incident highlighted how fragile these protections can be in a heated political climate. The missing text also included the Foreign Emoluments Clause, a critical safeguard written into the Constitution by the founders. This clause was designed to ensure that those in positions of federal power would remain loyal to the interests of the United States rather than being swayed by gifts, payments, or favors from foreign governments. It specifically bars federal officials from accepting any kind of present, office, or title from foreign states without the explicit consent of Congress. The intent was to create a clear barrier against foreign influence, protecting the integrity of American democracy. This rule is meant to prevent foreign influence and corruption at the highest levels, ensuring that leaders act in the nation's best interest, not their own or those of foreign powers. In recent years, the Emoluments Clause has become central to heated debates about ethics in government, transparency, and the boundaries of presidential power. These debates intensified during President Trump's administration as questions arose about his business dealings and whether they might violate this constitutional safeguard. For those closely following these controversies, the sudden disappearance of the clause from the government website felt deliberate, raising suspicions and fueling public concern. Also missing was the ban on titles of nobility, a powerful statement by the founders rejecting the old-world systems of inherited privilege and aristocracy. This ban was more than symbolic. It was a declaration that in America, all citizens are equal before the law, and no one is above the rules, regardless of their wealth or status. These principles are at the very core of American democracy, shaping the nation's identity and its promise of fairness and justice for all. Yet both the Emoluments Clause and the ban on titles of nobility vanished from the official site. In recent months, this absence has not gone unnoticed. President Trump's references to himself as king, whether in jest or not, and the public's reaction to such statements have only heightened the significance of these missing constitutional protections. Protests erupted, with activists and ordinary citizens alike demanding accountability and transparency, underscoring just how vital these constitutional clauses remain today. The loss of these sections seemed to echo the anxieties of the moment, reflecting a broader fear that the foundational principles of American government could be eroded. For many Americans, it didn't feel like a random glitch. It felt like a warning, a reminder of the constant need to hold leaders accountable and to protect the values enshrined in the Constitution. Key military powers also disappeared. Congress's authority to raise armies, maintain a navy, and call forth the militia. These clauses are the legal backbone of national defense and civilian control over the military. The Constitution limits military appropriations to 2 years, a check against abuse of power. The militia clauses, balancing federal and state control, were also gone. Their absence erased the framework for domestic security and defense. In a time of global uncertainty, losing these powers from the official record was deeply unsettling. The coding error didn't just remove text, it temporarily erased the rules for defending the nation. For service members and citizens alike, the event was a jarring reminder of digital vulnerability. The incident didn't happen in isolation. It came amid intense political polarization. Just months earlier, President Trump fired the nonpartisan Librarian of Congress, replacing her with his former attorney. Critics saw this as an attempt to politicize the institution responsible for preserving the nation's records. The missing sections aligned with recent controversial actions by the administration, including talk of suspending habeas corpus. Homeland Security officials had even misrepresented constitutional rights in Senate hearings. The timing and content of the missing text fueled suspicions of political interference. It looked less like a random error and more like an attempt to obscure inconvenient rules. The result, a technical glitch, became a national controversy about democracy itself. The missing text was first discovered not by officials, but by the public, tech-savvy users and journalists. Using the Wayback Machine, they proved the sections had been present just weeks before. Screenshots and hashtags like #Constitution disappeared spread rapidly on social media. Many doubted the coding error explanation, suspecting censorship or a test of public reaction. The public's vigilance forced the library to act quickly and explain itself. This episode showed the power of digital communities to hold institutions accountable. The incident deepened mistrust in government's role as information guardian. If the Constitution could vanish online, what else could be altered or hidden? The Constitution's brief disappearance was a wake-up call about the fragility of digital records. Easy, reliable access to foundational documents is essential for democracy. If citizens can't see the rules, the balance of power can shift dangerously. The incident raised urgent questions about digital safeguards and institutional trust. It was the public, not officials, who caught the error and demanded accountability. This vigilance is vital. Democracy depends on an engaged, skeptical citizenry. The event showed that constitutional principles are living ideas, not just historical text. Ultimately, it underscored the non-negotiable duty to keep the nation's rulebook open and available to all.